What's going on, champions? Clocks on the stove, back in action. I think this is Random Sports Podcast number 5, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's episode 97, Zach.
Six, six.
96, 97, something like that. Yeah, usual host, myself, Grayson Fisher, holding it down in the 813. With me, my partner in crime, holding it down in the, I don't know the area code, but
I
Fort
think it's
Lauderdale.
954. I think it's not.
954. Yeah, 954. Mr. Zach Watts. Zach, you
Yeah.
said you had an interesting conversational topic to start us off with today.
Yeah. My hot take of the day is guns may be the best and worst invention ever. I've been recently I've gotten a lot of like samurai feed on my social media, and I just think it'd be a lot cooler if everyone walked around with a samurai sword and was just dueling it out. You can't. I mean, you technically could commit a mass murder, but if you commit a mass murder with a samurai sword, you kind of become a legend. You're not really like
You're kind of skilled. You're kind of
yeah,
skilled.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not really like disrespected or like called insane. They're like, oh my god, that guy studied the sword. Like,
Yeah.
that guy was like that.
I
But
like
like,
the idea of it too because like you can be an absolute puss pop and just own a gun and kill someone and be like, yeah. But like to duel a sword, you have to be strong and like you have to know how to fucking use that shit. So like hand to hand combat and sword to sword war, like those are some badass motherfuckers. They're not just some dudes pulling triggers. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's why like the more I think about it, I'm like, I think you'd respect someone a lot more if they pulled a sword on you, but like
Yeah.
you can pull a gun and you're like, oh, this guy's fucking insane.
Dude, also like imagine like being at Publix and you're like walking out with your like cart and there's just two dudes dueling in the fucking street. That would be awesome. Now, if it's two guys having a shootout, horrifying. But two
Horrifying.
guys dueling swords, you're gonna sit there and watch. Like that's sick.
Yeah, I call my boss. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be late to work. There was a shooting. Oh my god, are you okay? Hey, I'm gonna be late to work. There's a fucking duel right now. They're gonna be like, yo, how fucking sick is that?
Yo, get some pics. Get some pics.
Yeah, video that. Like, if you just saw a war breakout, or like they're just on horsebacks and swords, and they're like, send out your best warrior. We're gonna send out mine, and we're just gonna break each other's will, like right before we even start. Like
Yeah,
that.
I just watched The Last Samurai with my dad last week for the first time, and my dad was like, "You can't be called the American Samurai and not watch this movie." And he made me. He like literally sat me down and made me watch it, and it's a great film. It is a great film. You do gain that appreciation of that like martial arts esque to it that you don't necessarily get with guns. Now, listen, there's a lot of cool guys that are like very handy and craftsman worthy with guns, and I think that's cool too. I just think there's a different art when it's like somewhat manual labor when it comes to the blade, you know?
Yeah, like you get muscles from swinging a sword around.
Yeah.
I don't really get nothing from pulling a trigger.
But there was literally a 100-year war because they would brawl for like 2 days and be like, "Yo, we gotta take a week off. We're so fucking sore," and they would
Yeah.
like recover and then go back. Like you could like it's grueling. It's really grueling.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of lost it during the medieval saga because they were like, well, what if we just wore armor? And then they didn't really kill each other. They were just like, we're gonna bludgeon you until like you can't move or your brain stops working. So at that point, it's like I
The
like
mo-
you hit one too many times and you're like, I quit. Sorry.
the
Like,
most badass is the Spartans. They wore no armor, just a shield and a spear and like a mini sword. They had a little dagger sword on them. And they're
where
like, we get to be more like versatile and agile. We can move better and we just fight in unison. And they were fucking monsters.
yeah.
Monsters. My favorite. There's a shit ton. I'm about to go rewatch this movie later. There's a shit ton of good parts in 300. Also, what I love about the movie 300 and the following one, they're both extremely accurate historically. Yes, there's Hollywood effects like adding things, but story wise, it's extremely accurate historically. I love when they run into that like other tribe. They're like, we want to help you fight, and they're like, what's your profession? He's like, I'm a craftsman. He's like, what's your profession? He's like, I'm a teacher. And like, what's your profession? Like they all say that. And he goes, Spartans, what's our profession? And they just go, ooh. Like that part, I'm like, holy shit, I want to go fucking fight the Persians now. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. The only thing that wasn't accurate about that movie is they didn't show how gay they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know,
Was it really gay though, or there was just like we love everyone?
I mean, dude, I may love a lot of dudes, but I don't love them like that. I, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, man. It's a little weird. Not
Yeah,
really.
everyone was fucking everyone back then, dude.
Yeah, I guess. I guess a little too animalistic, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just a little. But anyway, let's get back to sports. We spent 5 minutes on some dude things. One of the things that showed up in my feed that was actually a pretty interesting question was which Sean has the better chance
I
of an
saw this. Yeah, I saw. I'm sorry to interrupt your question. I did see this.
yeah, Sean Strickland over Izzy or Sean O'Malley versus Aljamain Sterling. Now,
Sean, sorry, because I interrupted you. So it's which Sean has the better chance at upsetting the title?
yeah, yeah,
Um, well, before we answer that question, can we agree that Sugar Sean is very much deserving of a title shot, where Sean Strickland not so much?
yeah. Well, I mean, I talked about this in the recent TikTok I did, where a lot of people were upset because they were like, "How are we going to give Sean Strickland a title fight against Izzy?" And when Bilal Muhammad has like a 9-fight win streak and he's not getting a title shot, but I think people need to understand that there's a big difference between the two. Not only how the division set up, you look at more so in Izzy's division. He's already lapped the division prior to Pereira,
Like
so
one and a
this is
half times.
yeah, 1.5 times. So throwing Sean in there like really isn't the worst decision. Sean's great with the media. Like he's always going to say something so outlandish that it's going to get views. The trash talk's going to be awesome. It's something that like it's going to be enjoyable from an entertainment perspective. Regardless of how the fight goes down per se, like it's just something that like made sense, I guess. Whereas you look at Bilal Muhammad in his division, I understand that Colby is fighting Leon right now. I understand that they had that set up, but Bilal is the more deserving guy for the title shot. I think another thing people need to understand is within that division, it's one of the most inactive divisions I've seen in all of UFC. Like it takes a long time for those fights to really pan out, get pen to paper, and actually like go through. And even when they do go through, like they are great fights the majority of the time. Like they tend to put on bangers, but the issue is it's not as consistent. And that division's kind of been in the dumps ever since GSP left. Ever since he kind of retired, they've always been scrambling for their like face of the division. They've been scrambling for kind of like who wants to be like the representative. And, I've always been a big believer that politics have never really played a huge part in combat sports. And I know you share this sentiment because similar to wrestling, it's not, oh, who looks better. It's did this guy beat this guy? That's what dictates who gets the title shot. That dictates who's the best. But we kind of are playing politics a little bit. The reason why we're kind of holding off on Bilal is because a lot of people don't really like Bilal. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of him either, but I have to respect him. Like the
No, it's
dude.
it's 100% political. Do I think Bilal is better than Colby? No. Do I think Bilal deserves the shot more? Yes. And I think that, and let's be completely honest, Zach, we could say whatever we want and we can try to defend them and we could do all this number pulling and all this and that. At the end of the day, the only reason Colby's getting this shot over Bilal is pay-per-view sales. Colby's going to sell way more than Bilal is. And at the end of the day, Papa Dana, Uncle Dana only cares about money. And we see that as they're in a federal lawsuit right now due to becoming a monopoly in the MMA game, which we can touch on in a second. The other thing is, due to this fact, Zach, I think that's why you're starting to see such a popularity grow in both Bellator and the PFL, where they have this tournament style of play to get your championship, where it's not political. It's not, you get put into a tournament of 16 people, but I think it's 8 in PFL, 16 in Bellator, right? You have to be good to get there. Yes, maybe 1 to 2 guys jumped over a guy that's a little bit better than them because of popularity, but for the most part, and PFL doesn't exist. In Bellator, that might happen occasionally. In PFL, it's a point system, so it's all about how you did in the regular season. To win that bracket and become the world champ, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It doesn't matter how many pay-per-view sales you sell, excuse me. All it matters is if you win. And I think that's why you're starting to see this. Obviously, listen, the fans and the growth of it is not near the UFC yet, but it's starting to get there. It's definitely starting to get there. You're starting to see more average people know who the Bellator champions are, know when there's a Bellator Grand Prix, know when the PFL finals are, and it's awesome because you're going back to the old school style of martial arts where it's not about the eye test. It's not about money. It's about who, if we lined all these motherfuckers up in a room and made them fight each other, who is going to come out on top? And you're starting to see that, and now you have Bellator's their final promotions in October with 4 title fights, which is awesome, by the way. And then who knows what's going to happen? And from what I'm reading, it seems very likely the PFL might snag them. And then that happens and the UFC lawsuit with the monopoly, we could be looking at a whole new era of mixed martial arts within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for having competition in the market. You know, whenever there's companies competing against one another, they're going to do their best to kind of promote their fighters and like retain the best of the best. Like that's just the natural order of things. It's how it works in any facade of life. So I'm all for it. I think another thing I really enjoy about the Bellator system and kind of having this tournament style is narratives write themselves. Like with a lot of the fights that they have, you know, they don't need to like add any extra seasoning to the pot. They don't need to kind of stir anything up. Like the fights write themselves and the narratives come. Like every fighter has their own story. Like they have a motive, they have a motivation, excuse me, they have a reason for doing what they're doing. And just the fact that the Bellator cares about their fighters and like allows them to express themselves in their own way, you know, kind of boosts them. Like people find out about these fighters and they get to learn about them more. And then that's how you develop fans. With the UFC, I kind of feel like a lot of the time it's just like, oh, if this guy isn't the champion, like you don't really care about him. Like you look at Peter Yan's fall off. Now, I will say this. Peter Yan does have a lot of fans. It's just hard to say from an American perspective because we really only are accustomed to the people that have a voice within the American like social media presence. But there are some American fighters that once they don't win anymore, they fall off. Like they just fall off the map. No one really cares anymore. No one really does anything or really like brings them up anymore. You know, one fighter in another organization that I'm glad he's finally getting a second chance again is Sage Northcutt. You know, he was so big for the UFC and he was just such a promising star and, you know, took a lot of time off, but finally came back and got a chance in another organization and is proving his worth as a fighter again. And people are respecting that and they're starting to give him more credit again. But, you know, if he were to re-sign back to the UFC, I don't think that would have been the case. I feel like they would have either tried to push it too hard back in the spotlight where they would have given him a fight that he probably wasn't ready for yet, which would have immediately killed him off. Or they would have just brushed him under the rug, being like, yeah, this guy's older now. Like his hype train died. We're not going to try to like revive it. So, you know, I do feel like Dana needs to learn some things. And I do think Uncle Dana's back is against the wall with this whole lawsuit thing and with fighters starting to reveal more of their contracts. And, you know, we're starting to clear the mist on how much money fighters are actually earning, excuse me.
Yeah, versus this is what we think they're getting. Now they're like actually like those there's I don't know if you saw this in the Utah card, 4 fighters publicly announced their pay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you go online and we go, well, based on their contract, they were like, no, this is exactly what I got paid. Because the state of Utah Athletic Commission legally lets them do that. It was Kevin Holland, the guy that fought Derek Lewis, and then 2 undercard people. They publicly released, they're like, this is exactly to the penny how much money we got.
Yeah. And, you know, that brings up another point. Dana could have done a great job of saving some face amidst this whole like money controversy. I mean, you want to bring up an example? Look at Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Dude made weight. His opponent missed weight, is under him in the rankings. And because Wonderboy didn't take the fight, which would have hurt his case more likely than not, even if he would have won, hurts his case because not only does he not get paid, now he's getting backlash because he didn't take the fight, even though the dude didn't. Not only did he not make weight, he would have probably been at a severe disadvantage had he still gone through with the fight.
So,
and what we talked about,
he is getting paid. Dana did come out to that. He is getting paid. He's only getting a percentage of the purse. And this is one of those things, Zach, where I actually agree with Dana. Wonder Boy is going to get paid his show purse, which some guys it's 50%, some guys it's 60. He's gonna get probably like $100,000 to $150,000, which is very not bad. Very not bad. But like, you don't get your full purse if you don't fight. That's not how that works. And I honestly agree with him. I agree with both ends. I agree with Wonder Boy not taking the fight. Prime example of this, Bubba Jenkins, first round of the PFL last weekend, he's the number 1 seed in the PFL playoffs, fought a 4 seed who missed weight, got his ass beat. Now, am I saying that that weight factor made a thing of it? No, but if Bubba Jenkins didn't take that, he'd be in the finals fighting for $1 million right now. You know? Mm-hmm. But I also agree at the same extent. Yes, they're not punishing you for not fighting, but you're not going to get your fight purse if you didn't fight. And I agree with that. He is getting his show money, and I believe he's getting a little bit more. He might be getting like 60, 65% of his contract. And we're talking about a veteran contract, so he's making almost $200,000 off this. So I honestly is one of the few moves I do agree with the UFC, and I still agree with Wonderboy not taking that fight, especially if these rumors come out that he is fighting Usman, because that fight's way more influential and purposeful for his journey than Michel Pereira was.
Yeah. With that kind of like rumors swirling around with Kamaru coming back and fighting Wonderboy, it just kind of confuses me. I mean, I can understand it from a money sense why Wonderboy would take it, but he had stated previously that he was done taking on wrestlers. Like he had already came out and said,
yes. But you need to remember, Usman's knees are fucked. He only has 2 to 3 shots in him for the whole fight. So if Wonderboy can go out there and dude, he literally said it in his UFC embedded when he went to fight Leon the second time. He has to walk downstairs backwards because he can't front load his knees anymore. So yes, he is a wrestler, but he can't fully like wrestle fuck him like Gilbert Burns did. His body's too beat up. So I think if there's a time for if this fight was 3 years ago, Usman mauls him. But if there's a time where this fight makes sense for Wonderboy, it's right now. And that's why I think he's cool with taking it.
Yeah. I can agree with that, Mark. I also just think a lot of it is like, hey, we know you said you wouldn't take wrestlers, but here's $1 million.
Yeah.
Thanks, kid. I'll fight Francis Ngannou.
We wrestling now, baby.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Stephen Wonderboy Nurmagomedov. Like, what's going on, baby? But in all seriousness, I do want to see the fight. I think Wonderboy's completely correct when he came out previously and was like, the only reason I backed out on the fight is I'm approaching the end of my career. I want to make one last title run. I'm not going to make any stupid decisions. I get that. Now that I know he is getting at least his show purse, that's a step in the right direction. Getting paid full just because guys miss weight and stuff like that. Obviously, you can't control that. I think maybe a good clause to have in the future, although with all the stipulations, this would be hard to work out. But, if you are going to risk pulling out of a fight because a guy missed weight, you need to have another fight lined up for him in case there's a fall through. It can't just
do for big fights. So for like really big, like the BMF, they probably had a third guy weigh in. For every title fight, they usually have an alternate, but this fight wasn't big enough to bring an alternate in.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of big fights or the lack thereof, I saw another tweet that was talking about what potential fights could save this Izzy Sean Strickland card.
Dude, it's a really fucking bad card.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through some of the fights that are on it now.
Real quick before we go on this, I want to piggyback off something you said about 5 minutes ago. Yeah. How the welterweight division's inactive. If you like Izzy or you don't like Izzy, I'm very like in the middle. Sometimes I really like Izzy and sometimes I really don't like Izzy. You have to respect him as an athlete for being the most active champion we've ever had. I can't tell you someone who there's fighters that are more active than him that fight like every month, but I've never seen a champion fight every 3 to 4 months like he has, top level guys. And that's the thing is like, yeah, they're giving him Sean Strickland. They're not doing it. Let's be real. They're not really doing it because Sean deserves it. They're doing it because Izzy wants to fucking fight and he doesn't care who shows up. You do not see that level of dog in champions anymore. Yeah. I mean, Aljo fights once every 6 to 8 months. Like, you got it, regardless of your stance or opinion on Israel Adesanya, you have to respect his activity. He is fighting nonstop.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, a lot of the times people want to hate on guys, but you look at guys like Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland may never be like a champion per se in a weight division, but dude's last 5 fights are all on short notice. Dude, does he give a shit? Kevin Holland's whole like philosophy on fighter pay is he's just like, take more fights. He's like, just fight more. He's like, you want more money, just fight. And
he's getting paid, all right, but he's also getting paid 300 to 500,000 fight.
Oh yeah, because right before like the fight after Kamzat, he's like, I'm retiring, and then fucking Dana's like, we're gonna pay you $250,000. And he's like, I'll fight now. He goes, I'll fight today.
I was like, we back, bitches.
Yeah, he's like, I'll fight every day. He goes, as long as I'm medically cleared, I will fight on every day of the week if I had to. Which honestly, respect. I wish I could see Kevin Holland in a longer fight camp, but honestly, every time I watch him fight, I'm like, does this dude even need fight camps?
I think it works in his favor. I think he's one of those guys where he just stays ready year round, and like his style of play, he doesn't really come out strategy wise. He just fights.
Yeah, it's more at a disadvantage for his opponents to find out that they're fighting Kevin Holland on 5 days notice than it is Kevin Holland to find out whoever he's fighting in 5 days, because Kevin Holland doesn't give a fuck.
Dude,
Kevin Holland,
I think I sent it to you. I saw someone made so Kevin Holland and Derek Lewis fought back to back on no they did not, I'm sorry. But they fought on the same card, that last card for the BMF. And they're both from Texas. They're both Texas boys. So they're like really cool. And someone made a fire fucking edit of Big X the Plug, who's like a real big rapper from Texas. And it was just him and Holland like hanging out after the fight, and then an edit of their two fights combined. It was tough. It was
Damn,
tough.
that is tough.
But yeah, let's go back to this card, dude. This card is fucking butt cheeks. Our
Yeah.
main event is Izzy versus Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is 2-2 in his last 4.
Yeah.
Our co-main is Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkanov. I love Tai. He's not world class, and Volk is the same thing. They both fall off.
He's not. They're not co-main. They're not.
Yeah, they're not co-main. Not on a pay-per-view card. Yeah.
You take away the main event of this. This is a fight night card.
Yeah.
This is a fight night card.
The only reason why it kind of works with Tai and the co-main is because the card is in Australia, and that's going to help sell it. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. The best fight on this card is Kai Kara France versus Manuel Capi. Like, that's an actually really good fucking fight.
Yeah.
But the rest of the card is fucking terrible, dude.
Yeah. Like,
they have a guy on the card whose legal name is Blood Diamond. His legal name is Blood Diamond.
But that's hard, though.
No, it is not. Not when you're 3-2. Not when you're fucking 3-2, brother.
Yeah, it really, honestly, the best thing is you make the name doesn't make you. Like you could literally be named like anything in the world, like pink floaties. And if you're 19-0, like people are gonna be like, dude,
pink floaties. Fuck. Yeah, people are gonna be wearing pink floaties in the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like people are gonna think that's hard. But if you're 3-2 named Blood Diamond, they're just gonna be like, all right, dude, you watched one movie, I forget his name. It wasn't Leo DiCaprio. What? Fuck, who's the fucking main character in Blood Diamond?
I've never even seen Blood Diamond.
You've never seen Blood Diamond?
No.
It's actually a great movie. I think you would enjoy it.
My neck is.
It is Leonardo DiCaprio. Am I tripping?
No.
Yeah, it is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Give me a quick spark notes on this. I've never even heard of this movie.
Yeah, so a fisherman, a smuggler, and a syndicate of businessmen match wits over the possession of a priceless diamond.
Fuck that. Just tell me what it is.
Oh my god.
Have you not seen it either?
I have, but like I saw it back with my dad when I was like 8, and I was just like, oh my god, the movie's so cool. Problem is it keeps showing up as like the Wikipedia because it's based off like real events. Like it's like how like children in the Congo would always like mine for shit. It literally shows like 6-year-olds shooting RPGs and shit, fighting against like militiamen soldiers. Like remember the whole like Kony 2012 movement? This is like what Kony was using it for. By the way, finding out Kony 2012 was fake was the biggest mind-blowing thing in my entire life.
Oh, dude, I know. And they've got like $1 million from the government.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, the fact that you were able to make that seem real, because everyone believed it, we were like, oh my God, like they're using children in the wars.
Bro, they had a whole fucking like YouTube 2-hour documentary. And I remember watching it crying, like, fuck, dude, fuck Kony, man. Like, we gotta beat him. And it was all fake. It just shows our lack of fucking knowledge. And actually, I want to piggyback off of this into a talking point I wanted to bring up.
Oh, fuck.
I just watched the Johnny Manziel Untold documentary. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I haven't seen it yet.
First of all, it's fucking fire. It is fire. I am the biggest Johnny Manziel dick rider. He changed college football so much, and he was such a big advocate and large reason to why these college kids get paid. And the other thing I love about Johnny Manziel is, did he fuck up? Absolutely, he fucked up, and he admits that he fucked up. But he didn't fuck up in a lot of ways these other guys do, where he's like killing people or raping or beating women. Like, he just partied. That was it. Like, there's no accusations of him doing anything that's like really bad. Okay. He just partied, and he was like, dude, in his junior year, his sophomore year, or his redshirt freshman year when he won the Heisman, Texas A&M football made $780.5 million, and he got 0 pennies of it. 0 pennies of it. And he's signing jerseys for them and shit. And he's like, fuck this, bro. Fuck this. You know, and if I was 19 years old and someone offered me $100,000 to sign cards, I would also do it, especially when you deserve to be making that fucking money. Yeah. Anyways, when he started doing that and he started blowing up, the NCAA started investigating him. They're like, He's driving a really nice car. He's sitting courtside at these games. Like, what's going on? And his best friend, who was like his, I guess you could say like his like lawyer at the time, like his agent, it was just his best friend who just took the fall for him for everything, was like the NCAA investigated him and they were like, no, you don't get it. Like Johnny comes from a very wealthy family. Like his family has a lineage in oil. And the NCAA was just like, yeah, that checks out.
Checks out.
Never looked into it. Never looked into it. Never trying to find a backstory. They were just like, yeah, that makes sense. And just let it happen. And I'm watching it with my dad, and he goes, this is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. The highest level of NCAA narcs, like it's a whole department dedicated to try to bust athletes that are like illegally taking money. And instead of looking into it, they were just like, yeah, that checks out. That makes sense. He's a white kid driving a nice car. Yeah, that makes sense. And then they just went along, and everything was dropped. Like, oh yeah, he's good. He got suspended one half of an opening game versus Rice. That was it.
Yeah, what probably happened was the NCAA sat down with like Johnny and his like best friend is a lawyer, and they're like, yeah, look at these highlights versus Florida, and they're like, oh shit. They're like, oh shit. By the way, funniest part was the only clip I saw, which was like, dude, Johnny's logged no hours watching film. And like, dude, he has to watch some film. He goes, his iPad hours is 0.0. And then it cuts to Johnny and goes,
yeah.
He goes, I didn't watch
that's another reason why I like him so fucking much, bro.
He's that good.
He was just that much better than everyone.
Yeah.
He would and Cliff Kingsbury was his offense coordinator at the time, and he talks about it in the documentary. When they played Mississippi State, which was one of the biggest games for them that season. They just come off of a roll. It's the week before Alabama. They're ranked like 15th. Mississippi State's ranked like 13th. It's like a really big game. They called it the Snow Bowl. Mississippi State was in a blackout and Texas A&M was in a whiteout. They do their like Friday morning like walkthrough, and Johnny shows up hungover as balls. And they're like, oh my God, dude, like this is the most important game of your career, blah, blah, whatever. Best game he ever played in college. Best game he ever played. And Cliff was like, instead of trying to fight it, we just let him do it. And as long as he showed up, we kind of let it go. And that's what's incredible to me is that this man went out there, beat Alabama, beat UF, should have been in the SEC championship, won a Heisman as a freshman, first guy to ever do it. And he just played pickup football. He didn't study the playbook. He didn't like treat his body like a temple. He got hammered, partied, and then just went out there, hungover, and was like, all right, let's see what happens. And he would just throw 500 and run 200. Like he was just better than everyone else.
This brings up an interesting point. So Netflix makes this whole documentary about it, about all this illegal stuff that Johnny Manziel was doing and the issues that like surrounded it. But yet he gets to retain his Heisman Trophy, but Reggie Bush doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Little interesting.
Reggie Bush last year when they dropped the NIL, I don't know the proper terminology for it, if it was like subpoena or something like along those lines, where he sent a file in with a lawyer to the NCAA stating, now that compensation towards players' names, they're allowed to get money, I would like my Heisman back. And they told him no.
Yeah. Because he was wearing.
And you also know they didn't take Reggie Bush's Heisman. Reggie Bush gave it to them. He goes, I'm sorry, I fucked up. Here, take it. I don't want it. They didn't actually take it from him.
Yeah. They took his Heisman. They took his title, 14 wins, 10-year ban from his alma mater, 7 years worth of sanctions, 30 scholarships revoked, 2-year bowl ban, all of it. But Johnny Manziel snort some cocaine off some women, and it's telling
and they're like,
oh, champion.
On top of that, I don't know why this doesn't get talked about enough. The University of Tennessee just had 200 allegations dropped. 200. Just, you're fine.
Yeah, but did you see all them goddamn Tyler Childers Tennessee football edits? You see all them football, dude, they beat Alabama. They're like, dude, 200 charges.
I just think it's ridiculous, bro. And I remember watching a Reggie Bush clip, and they're like, after they won the NCAA title, they fly back to LA, and Reggie calls his coach, and he's like, Coach, I have no money for food, and my fridge is completely empty. Like I can't eat. So his coach went and bought him and all the guys that stayed in his room like $200 worth of Taco Bell, and just gave it to them. And that is still illegal. That's still illegal recruiting. And it's like they just won an NCAA title, and they don't have money to get food and their coach bought them Taco Bell, and if they found that out, they would have been in trouble. Like it's so corrupt, and I don't fully agree with how we have the NIL. I think it should have been introduced slow and then started ramping its way up rather than going from 100 and now being like shit's fucked. But that was once again like we talked about with Elijah. That was just the NCAA's way of being like, look, we solved all the problems. You know, we're good. Look, you're getting money. Instead of reality, it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't solve shit.
Yeah. It, it's what like we keep going back to it, and we'll always reiterate the same things. Like we should have at least thought it out a little better. But
Yeah.
NCAA had their back against the wall to the point where they're just like, take your fucking money.
Yeah. And they love it because it's not their own money.
Yeah, they're like, we don't care. Take the money. They're like, we'll just stop doing shit. Now they're just trying to find way. Like now they're a little more aggressive on cracking down on illegal shit. They're like, well, we're gonna find a way for you to prevent you getting money, but we'll still let you get money. But
I saw a really fucking interesting tweet. I wanna word it properly just to make sure. Yesterday that it's kind of because all this conference stuff is getting a little crazy. It's getting a little crazy.
Indubitably. By the way, in the meantime, we talked for this. Yeah, we while Grayson's looking for that, we talked about this in you found it?
Yeah.
All right, go.
So this is by Reddit College Football. By the way, might be one of my favorite Twitter college football accounts. Very slept on. The Pac-12 could have added Power 5 members in 2021, but their two biggest teams, USC and UCLA, voted not to. Those two teams then left the conference, which eventually collapsed. Okay? You got that?
Yep.
The ACC can add Power 5 members this year, but their two biggest teams, FSU and Clemson, voted not to.
I'm just saying.
Clemson and FSU are going to go to Big Ten. Yeah. It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Hey,
also,
I don't give a fuck.
I've been seeing a lot of Notre Dame shit, and I'm all for it. Why is Notre Dame just allowed to not be in a conference in football? In every other sport, they are in a conference. But in football, we're like, fuck it, let them do whatever they want. Like, I don't understand that.
I blame Rudy.
You are the biggest Rudy hater I've ever met, I believe.
Of all time. Because every player that ever talks about it, they're like, why the fuck did this kid get a movie? Like, he didn't even do anything.
Yeah, no, and he was offsides.
Yeah, he was offsides, by the way. Oh, yeah, by the way, we all fucking hated him, and he can never show his face around Notre Dame because we all fucking hate him.
Yeah.
Like, but I got a movie, though. I got this movie, though. They're like, dude, I remember they interviewed the player. They're like, oh, so, like, did you all turn your jerseys in? Fuck no. We didn't give a fuck. Do you think we gave it a shit? Or some practice squad guy? You know what movie should have been made? Who was the Arkansas? Oh, there was a movie about this. Sorry. The Arkansas offensive lineman that was a walk-on. What is the movie called?
Blindside?
No.
I don't know, dude.
We're clipping that. We're fucking clipping that. Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's called Greater.
Never heard of it.
So it's a biopic about Brandon Bolesworth.
What a name.
Yeah, he joined the squad in 1984, walks on in 1994, becomes an All-American and an NFL prospect.
Where did he come from?
Was a devout Christian boy in what the fuck?
Dude,
yeah, dude. What? Look him up. Look at his face. Look at his fucking face.
What's his name?
Brian Bolesworth. Look at what he looks like.
Holy shit. That's a big boy. He looks mean as hell.
I might go watch this movie.
I don't understand though. What was he like playing other sports?
He was just fat. He was just fat as shit.
And they were like, yo, we're just going to get you to become a little athletic and you'll become a monster.
Yeah, no, he walked on. But the problem is, like, apparently, like, he just worked harder than everyone.
He's dead.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah. In a car crash, I think. Yeah, in a really bad car crash. That's sad.
Yeah. But the movie is goated.
I don't understand. Was he like, just like, was he working out? Was he like a military family? Like, how did You don't just like develop a dog like that. Like something had to come prior to that.
Bruh, it like what I really remember in the movie was he literally was like goes to walk on, fat and out of shape, and then the O-line coach is kind of just like, hey man, if you really want to be serious about this, here's what you have to do.
So
And he's like,
he was on a bunch of gear.
probably. But he was like,
Hey
you
man, if you
gotta
want to make the team, you need to take this TRT.
yeah. But no, he like in the movie, the guy he like went to coach, he's like, Coach, he's like, I really want to do this. And he's like, you want to do this? He goes, be out here at 5 a.m. He goes, be this weight by this week, make sure you can run this 40 time, yada yada yada. He does all of it every single day, just like grinds his ass off, and then they're like, all right, we'll give you a shot. And then they line him up in practice against like Arkansas's like all-American defensive end, and he pancakes him like in the first rep of practice. And then they ask the DM, they're like, what the fuck was that? And he goes, that ain't no walk-on. You're like, that ain't no walk-on. You're like, oh hell nah. And then on his way to All-American. I'm gonna
fucking nuts, dude. That's nuts. I think that gets overlooked with Baker Mayfield a lot too. That he was literally a walk on, and then he won a Heisman.
Fortunately, you can't make a movie about Baker
No,
Mayfield.
no, I'm not saying that. You ever seen the video when they're trying to arrest him and he's like, "No, guys, it's okay, I'm Baker." Like, no, it's okay, I'm Baker Mayfield. And they're like, "We don't care." I swear to God, that's what he says. He's like, "No, guys, it's cool. Like, I'm Baker." They're like, "You were drunk driving." He's like, "I'm Baker. It's okay. I'm cool."
I'm Baker
And
fucking Baker.
he's in cuffs and he starts like walking away. He goes, "Guys, I'm Baker. It's fine." And then goes to sprint and a fucking police officer just bodies him. And they're like on top of him. Goes, "I'm fucking Baker Mayfield. Let me go."
Oh my god. That just seems like some shit. Like if you're that much of like a campus like legend though, I feel like that's some shit that you're just drunk and like you're just saying because you think you can
Oh,
get
dude,
out of
because he's probably used that and gotten out of a lot of things.
Yeah, you can pull over.
Crab leg incident with Jameis, he was not stealing crab legs. They were giving him crab legs and he got caught. So then the public was like, he's stealing. But like in reality, they were definitely like, yo, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Or no one ever considers this. Jameis can be an airhead at times. He may have just grabbed the crab legs and then like just like walked out and be like, oh,
Yeah, I
shit.
just forgot.
We are talking about the same guy that stood in the middle of student union and screamed, grab her by the pussy, got suspended in the first half of the Clemson game, and then put on his pads and thought the team would forget he got suspended.
Yeah, he thought the NCAA would just forget they suspended him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna dress out, warm up, and then fucking
Jimbo's like, what are you doing?
He's like, Coach, no, it's straight. He's like, I can play, and he goes, dude, no, the fuck you can't. He goes, you're gonna get us fucking suspended.
Yo, shout out Sean fucking McGuire though for winning that game as a fucking backup.
Whoa, he won the first half.
No, he played the whole game.
Did he?
Sean McGuire played the whole fucking game, dude.
Yeah, that just shows you how dominant that FSU team
Oh, that
was.
team was just so. Dude, they basically went up to Sean. They go, look, you're gonna hand it off every fucking play, and we have 3 pass plays. If you just don't throw a pick, we will win this game. Yeah. And that's what he did.
Devontae Freeman and what was it? Patrick. Was it Patrick?
Patrick, yeah, it was no, Jaquez Patrick.
Jaquez Patrick, yeah. Hey, we have Devontae Freeman and Jaquez Patrick. Oh, and 5 All-American offensive linemen.
Yeah.
If you throw a fucking interception, the school is gonna crucify you. And students,
that's got to be a sick moment to know. Like he played 2 games in his college career and he beat Clemson and Notre Dame. Like that's got to be pretty fucking sick, dude.
Legend.
Like you did nothing in college. You just fucking sat. I mean, let me know. Right. You won a national championship ring behind Jameis Winston. That's pretty fucking sick. But like you didn't have to do much, and then there's just 2 of the biggest games ever, and they're like, "Yo, we need you to just fucking do this shit." And he Alex Moran that bitch. He didn't have like crazy stats. He just didn't. The defense did their job, and he just made the drives happen on offense.
Yeah. By the way, if there's anyone that is Alec Moran, it's him.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I'm just gonna be back up and go get the pussy, and then they put him in and he wins games, and he's like, oh fuck.
Not only does he win games, he wins games against 2 top 5 teams.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, dude. He's like, I'm starting. He's like, I don't want to start.
Yeah, I don't want to remember when in Blue Mountain State, Alex Moran, the other quarterback, battle out for second string. And the coach is like, why didn't you guys care this much about first string? Like, coach, you don't get it. Like, the difference of pussy between second string and third string is a huge drop.
Yeah. Because I remember they were like at practice and Moran was like throwing dots, and then the coach was like, "Moran, keep playing like that. You're gonna be first string." And he's like, "Gotta throw a pick."
Yeah.
He's like, "Gotta throw a pick." He's like, "What the fuck, Moran?"
He's like, we're playing a little too good. We need to throw some in the dirt now.
Yeah, you throw some in the dirt. Unidentified black man.
Dude, that
You're
show
like,
was goated. They killed it. The movie was terrible though. They killed it with the movie.
you wanna talk about goated shows? I don't think anyone in the history of sports has ever gained more respect from a show than Kirk Cousins from this quarterback
I
documentary.
haven't watched it yet. My mom's watched it. She said it's really good. What do you think
Dude,
about it?
so I've mostly just
You
been
watched
watching.
all of them? I know there's one with like
Yeah, I've just been seeing clips, but I know it follows.
Patty, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but the way they followed Kirk, like all the clips of Kirk show, like it just shows that number one, he's just a down to earth, like Christian guy, dude, just never swears, like just a wholesome ass dude. Always works his ass off for the team and consistently played through injury the entire year without saying a word. Never complained to the
He
media.
took the blame for every single loss. He
Yeah,
took the
and
blame
then
for every single loss.
yeah, and then now, like beforehand, any of the things he did, people would be like, "Oh, he's cringe. He's not really like that good of a quarterback. He just has great weapons." And then now, like everyone's like, "Kirk Cousins is my fucking hero." Like they're like, "Kirk Cousins is the man I want marrying my children." Like,
Kirk Cousins is the greatest 1 p.m. quarterback of all time, dude.
yeah, indeed, indeed, and he will go down as that forever. You don't put him at 4 p.m. because he hasn't. That's too far away from when he went to church. He doesn't have
Yeah.
the power of
Damn,
God.
that's a good logic. That's a good logic. You think he's so good at one because he got out of church at like 11?
Yeah, I think the power of God is like it. I think Jesus is still in him. Like,
Because
for
he's it's such a close window, and then like during the game, he's like, "All right, I'm just gonna keep my hand on your shoulder." But if you want to watch something really cool, I mean, I knew of Kirk Cousins before because of he was at Michigan State. Michigan State had low key like a little run right there when they had that Kirk Cousins, and then I went to fucking Connor Cook. Like they had a good little flow. But if you want to watch something really dope, watch it's a Michigan State ceremony, and either Kirk Cousins won like male athlete of the year or football player of the year. He won some award. It's like an 8 minute long thing where he goes and speaks, and it's like really he's young. He's like 21, 22. It's a really cool, humbling moment because I don't think he credits himself one time. He gives credit to his coaches, he gives credit to his teammates, he gives credit to God, he gives credit to his family. He does not one time say like, "Yeah, I was the best. Like I did this." Like it's a really humbling, cool video to watch, and it gives you an insight on who Kirk Cousins really is and not what the media portrays him to be.
Yeah, I agree. One of the tweets that I just came across that is actually pretty based. We were talking about this earlier about like the UFC Hall of Fame and whether or not certain fighters deserve to be in it. And there was an argument on Twitter whether RDA deserved to be. By the way, only fighter to ever surpass 8 hours of octagon time.
He
Which
has
is
like 40 UFC fights, not
yeah,
MMA fights,
but
UFC fights.
yeah. Wait, but we'll touch on that after this. But he came out and said he doesn't. He said he doesn't meet the criteria to fight for the BMF belt because he's never actually held UFC gold.
No, no,
So
no,
he's
because he has actually held UFC gold.
oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't fight for the BMF title because I'm overqualified because I've actually been a champion. That's what he
Based,
said.
based, based.
I think that's tough.
Super based. By the way,
You know, think that's tough.
no, it is tough. No, I'm. That's why I said it's based. Like that.
Yeah.
That's just hard. But here's the thing: people need to understand when we have these like arguments about like the UFC Hall of Fame because there's not like a combat Hall of Fame. It's literally just the UFC Hall of Fame.
I think eventually we need to get to a combat Hall of Fame. There's too many guys that are amazing martial artists that didn't fight in the UFC or their career was better out at other places. Like it just
Yes, I agree 100%. Here's the thing that people need to understand. Throughout all of sports, and like for example, let's go through baseball. There are a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame that if you were to compare their stats to today, they probably wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame if you did it over. However, they set the standard for the Hall of Fame back then. That doesn't mean we go back and like revoke them because they're no longer good compared to the people today. It's kind of the same thing with MMA. Dude, the UFC has only reached its 30-year anniversary. We're in the first 30 years. A lot of the guys that are going to get in are probably never going to hold gold, are probably never like going to go on insane title defenses. They're probably never going to be like considered the cream of the crop for divisions. But, there's no like baseline or standard for what qualifies you for getting into the UFC Hall of Fame. You know, I look at you look at RDA, held gold, surpassed 8 hours of octagon time, only fighter to do that. I'm pretty sure there's like a multiple other quotes we could go on. I'm just gonna look it up and find it
Fought
because
40 fucking times in the UFC.
yeah, fought 40 times in the UFC. Like
Fought everyone and their mom too. He's never ran from fights, and he's done it at lightweight and welterweight.
yeah, agreed.
I'm pulling it up. I just got him up. All right, here's some of his fight history. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, since he's been in the UFC. All right, let me go to right here. He's fought Jeremy Stevens. He's fought Terry Edom, Clay Guida, George Soperopoulos, Glenson Tabo. He's fought Evan Dunham, Donald Cerrone, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Benson Henderson, Nate Diaz, Anthony Pettis, Donald Cerrone, Eddie Alvarez, Tony Ferguson, Neil Magny, Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Lee, Leon Edwards, Michael Chiesa, Paul Felder, Hanato Masiano, Rafael Fiziev, and Brian Barberena.
I don't think those are all the people he's beaten.
No, those are all the people he's fought.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say.
And he's held the UFC world title, beat Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone for it. And we're talking about like not like wash Donald. We're talking about like prime Donald.
Yeah. Like here's a thread that people are
been in the UFC since 2008.
Yeah.
That alone should get you into the Hall of Fame, bro. If you have 30 fucking fights in the UFC, you should automatically become a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Here's where like some discourse happens on social media that really pisses me off. This first guy, no, 12 losses in the UFC should not get you into the Hall of Fame, regardless of the resume. So BJ Penn doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So
who are those losses? Rafael Fiziev, who's a dog. Michael Chiesa, very good. Leon Edwards, world champion. Kamaru Usman, world champion. Colby Covington, world champion. Tony Ferguson, world champion. Eddie Alvarez, world champion. Khabib Nurmagomedov, world champion. Glenson Tabo, he's been fought for the title multiple times in other organizations. Clay Guida, Hall of Famer. Jeremy Stevens, Hall of Famer. Like, bro, what? Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah, and here's another thing. They're like, if 16 wins and 14 losses and 2 like disqualifications gets you into the Hall of Fame, you might as well throw everyone in there. You shouldn't get in just for being a savage. Yeah, yes, you should.
Definitely should.
You definitely should. You are a pinnacle of what the UFC is supposed to be, a fucking dog. Like, look, this may be my hottest take. I think Kevin Holland's going to be a Hall of Famer by the end of his career. 100.
And listen, I'm a huge RDA hater. You've never heard me want RDA to win. I'll bash him and say all the time, like, I think his big fights he loses, he's still a Hall of Famer, though. There's no way he's not a fucking Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He won the belt and defended it. That right there, boom, stamp Hall of Fame. Like, that should be automatic Hall of Fame.
Yeah. These are the same people that think Nate Diaz shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like it doesn't, or like Jim Miller shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't fucking, you understand how hard it is to be in the UFC for more than 2 fights? Like,
by the way,
what the average NFL career is, what, a season, half a season? Like, it's even shorter in MMA, bro. It's like, you know how many guys sign and go 0-2 and then you never fight again?
Yeah. By the way, proposed fight, Jim Miller versus Tony Ferguson.
Good fight. Also, rewind real quick. I do think RDA is in the Hall of Fame. I also think if RDA did fight Conor when they were supposed to fight, I think Conor would have beaten the fucking piss out of him.
Yeah. People need to understand this. I'm starting to lose my like fanboyism with Conor.
Mine's been gone. Mine has been gone.
Like what Michael Chandler said was so facts. What like when Conor used to speak, that shit held weight. Like whatever he said, it was like fucking gospel to MMA fans. Like it didn't matter. He could say sucking dicks is cool, and you would have seen everyone suck a dick. Everyone would have sucked dicks.
Hey yo. Hey
pause,
yo.
Pause.
You're not wrong though, but you could have used a different.
We could have gone a different route. We could have gone a different direction, but we went that way anyway. But regardless, now Conor's kind of like lost weight, like Michael Chandler says. I completely agree. But what people don't realize is prime Conor McGregor was like a prophet. Mystic Mac.
It's never been done. It'll never be done again either.
There will never be someone as influential to MMA as Conor McGregor.
Ever again. Ever
again. He literally put this shit on the map. He is the reason half the people go out to bars and everyone is locked the fuck in on fight night.
He's the closest thing to a Super Bowl in any other sport outside of soccer, of course. But like Like
Yeah.
people are like, "Yo, we got to clear our schedule. Connor's fighting Saturday." Like that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe no, not internationally. It doesn't. Outside of it does not happen internationally for any other fighter. It doesn't.
Yep. Sorry. Really doesn't. But like I get it. He's removed from his prime. His fall off is kind of terrible. It's hard to see. You either live long enough to see yourself, or what is it? You either die
You
the hero.
die the hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. It sucks to say that, but look, it happens to everyone. It's just how it is. His redemption arc would have to be he becomes like a pastor or some shit, or starts.
I think if I'm Conor McGregor, there's only two fights I take. There's two fights I take, and these are the only two fights I take. I fight Jorge.
Jake Paul.
I fight Jorge Masvidal because they both sell a bunch. You don't got to worry about wrestling. Or I fight Max Holloway at lightweight because they both sell a bunch. You don't got to worry about wrestling. I don't see you taking any other fight.
Do you not find Max Holloway?
No, Max would body him, but I would see him taking it.
Yeah, but absolutely not. Connor's not that stupid. Conor knows. Conor knows. You can be cocky, but dude, when Volkanovski is literally begging Ilya Taporia not to fight Max because he knows if he fights Max, he's not going to get to fight him. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, please don't fight him. He's like, you're going to get fucked.
Yeah, people forget, like, Volk is the greatest featherweight of all time. Like, I'll confidently say that. And I'm a huge Max stan. But people forget how fucking good Max is.
Yeah. Bro, who was Max's last fight?
Arnold Allen.
Murdered him.
And Arnold Allen is really good.
Dude.
Bro, he broke the strikes record on Calvin Kattar, who's one of the best strikers in the UFC.
Yeah, we're talking about a man that learned his punch combinations from the UFC video game.
Yeah.
Was literally just like, dude, while fighting Kattar, looks at his camp and goes, I'm the best boxer in the UFC.
Looks at DC. Looks at DC.
Oh, he looked at DC. Sorry. Yeah, looks at DC. He's like, I'm the best boxer in the UFC. And then whoops his ass while doing
punch is not looking, just fucking. And since I'm a Max Holloway stan, he's also married to Miss Hawaii.
Dude's winning.
Dude's winning.
Yeah. You physically couldn't let him be the best fighter in the world because he's winning in too many other aspects.
Yeah, we had to bring in Volkanovski.
Yeah, we had to. That'd be like if like Tom Brady ends up becoming like the best commissioner or some shit. Like he owns this team and they end up winning the Prem. It's like, okay, you're literally Jesus.
Yeah, we got to flaw you somehow.
Yeah, like our knock on you. You know what they did to Tom Brady? They made him like kissing kids too much. That's his knock. That's his knock.
All right, we're done. We're done with this. We're done.
By the way, kissing his own kids. We're just gonna re-clarify that before we come back. Anywho,
finish it off with our usual ender. We got a little draft. I know Zach said he had one, unless you want me to do mine.
What was mine on again? I think I was just messing around. Oh, things that are myths.
Yeah.
Things that are real but are actually myths. Number one, jujitsu. Just stand up.
Just stand up. I've been thinking about this one a bunch recently, and I kind of want to do it. Is dream podcast guest. I've been thinking about it a bunch, actually. I don't know if you want me to start or you want to start.
I'll let you start. I need the brain juices to get flowing.
So my number one. So let's do this in a draft, as in just picking them, because I don't have an order of importance. I just have like guys I've been thinking of. The first one I'm gonna name. I'm gonna go Rick Rubin. Music producer.
Wait, dead or alive or only alive? Let's do only alive.
Only alive. Rick Rubin's alive.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, for mine.
Yeah, we'll do only alive. We'll do a dead one. Oh, that's good. We'll do an alive one this time, and then we'll do a dead one next pod.
Okay.
So real quick, just so this is all clippable. Our draft is not in order, just in general 5 picks. A live dream podcast guest. My first pick, I'm going with.
I'm going to add this one thing that let me know if you're okay with it. The one thing I'll say is we can't pick people from the same like career path, I suppose. So if you pick
too hard, that's going to make it too hard.
All right, fair enough.
let's keep it
I'm
on.
gonna try, I'm gonna
Keep it.
try to mix mine up.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Rick Rubin, my number one. I'm a huge fan of his. He's a giant music producer, very well known for helping with Kanye, Outkast, the Beastie Boys, Jay-Z. Like he's done it all. He's a great book. I just bought it. I'm about to read it. He's just a super cool philosophical guy that he's not even like a really big music guy. He just understands like life, and that's really helped him involved with his music. So I'd love to sit down and talk with him. So I'm gonna go Rick Rubin right there.
Okay, fair enough. I'll stick to yours only because like I'll stick like the music route. I'm gonna go with a more interesting take just because I think it would be hilarious and you just don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go Kanye.
Kanye
Um,
be, Kanye be very good.
Kanye would be a very interesting one to have on only because I don't know where the topic of conversation may go, and I don't think you could ever be bored talking to the guy. I think his mind is like enigmatic, where he just like can go on tangents on anything. When my favorite thing ever is when he did that thing where he's like, I want to be an ubiquitous, like he's like, I want to be ubiquitous. He's like, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, do you know the guy that created the sidewalk or the water fountain or the stop sign? He goes, no, but these are things we use in everyday life. And I'm like, holy shit,
No,
dude.
dude, some of the times he says some shit that's stupid, but then when you like really listen to it, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
like, damn.
Damn.
My number two, I'm gonna go with Keanu Reeves.
Mm.
He doesn't really do media. He hates being famous, which makes me like him that much more. And he's been in like the most badass movies ever, and he's just like a really down to earth guy. So I'm gonna go with Keanu Reeves for number two.
Nice. My number two, I'm gonna stick on my just kind of outlandish, crazy things, and because I've never seen him as a podcast guest, I'm gonna go Donald Trump. I think it'd be the funniest.
Well, he was on Nelk. He was on Nelk.
Oh, it was on Netflix, right?
I still think it'd be a fucking awesome podcast, especially
Yeah,
if we talked no politics. Like we
yeah.
just shot the shit with Donald Trump.
If we wouldn't talk politics, it would just be sports.
Yeah.
By the way, nothing crazier than when he showed up to the Izzy Pereira fight, and we were so confused. We're like, why the fuck is there like 20 security guards right now? And they parted ways, and just Donald Trump showed up, and everyone was like, oh my fucking god.
He's smart at attacking the market, bro. And he was at the NCAA finals. He shook the hand of every NCAA champion. Like he's getting that MMA following. He's good at marketing that. My
Yeah,
third one's a little weird, but I've been thinking about it. I'm gonna go with Pitbull, Mr.
interesting.
Worldwide. He came from Cuba, was like very not rich, was very hood, and was like a very like gangster rapper, like cholo vibes, and then blew up into this like pop icon, you know? So like I think he'd have a lot of stories, and I think it'd be really cool to like sit down with him. I also saw on Twitter there was this Walmart in Alaska that was like raising money and they wanted Pitbull to come visit them so bad, and he fucking flew out to Alaska and hung out with the Walmart employees. So like I think like he'd be the boy too.
Oh shit, that's actually goated behavior though.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
straight
he's
up.
the boy. I think it'd be cool to see someone that had nothing to get to the fame. Because dude, he's so big. When you Google Pitbull, he comes up before the dog, and he's named after the dog. Like
This,
that's fucking sick.
this is true. My number three is gonna be Morgan Freeman.
That'd be very fun.
Yeah, I just think I don't think I've ever heard anything about this man's personal life or what he does. He just literally is just vibing, and then he shows up in movies, and you're just like, that guy play. That's the only guy you can cast as God in a movie, and you'd be like, that fits.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're like, yeah, that's cool. Give me number four. Give me Action Bronson. He's one of those people where like my mom, I put him on the other day because he did the Tiny Desk, and my mom's like, who is this guy? Like, what's he famous for? And I was like, honestly, mom, he's kind of famous for being himself. Like you can't really be like, oh, he's this or that. I mean, like he's a musician. He also does the cooking shit. He also has like he's like best friends with like Cheeto Vera and like other athletes. Like Action Bronson is someone that like made a living. Like he's boys with Joe Rogan. Like just being Action Bronson, you know. And that's why it's like I fucking love Action Bronson. Like he goes surfing in Rockaway Beach where Jags out all the time. Like Action Bronson's just Action Bronson. Like I would love, you know, he lost like 150 pounds. He's on like this like quest now to like change his health. Like I think he'd be a sick pot. I think he'd be a sick guest.
I agree. My number four is gonna be Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Oh, great one. Great one.
Yeah. I know he has his own podcast, but just to be able to sit down with a man who literally has gone through so much in his life and has done a complete 180, and just the fact that like the way he talks about himself is as if he's like removed himself from his own like persona of who he used to be. Like he lives a different life now.
Like a different chapter of the Batman series.
Yeah, it's like insane. And the dude, you know, didn't have a great upbringing, but yet still like has the capacity to like show love and like want to learn about so many things. I just think he has a lot of interesting things to talk about. And, I think a lot of the guests he has on take for granted who they're sitting in front of. And they want to ask him about like the funny shit or like the like most controversial shit in his life. But I was like, if you actually like sat down and like dug deep into this guy, I feel like he has like a whole other like world to him. So I'm gonna go Mike Tyson.
I have a lot I could do for my fifth. Like I could do this all day thinking about people I'd want to sit down and talk with. But I know this sounds really dumb, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go Justin Bieber. I would love to sit down with someone who reached the level of fame he did at that age and to the point where it completely altered the way he had to live life. Like he's one of the people that are like, I hate fame. Like he like literally says it all the time. Like I wish I didn't get famous. Like I can't go to Publix. I can't go see a movie. I can't go. He went to church and they went into church and followed him. Like he's like I hate it, and it'd be really cool just to see like how he literally was a poor kid that just posted a video of him singing on YouTube and it turned into this international icon. I think it'd be. I also think he'd be the boy. Like I think if we sat down and like we put away all the bullshit, we didn't like fantasize over him. We just sat down and shot the shit. I think he'd be the fucking boy.
Yeah. Um, I'm torn between my fifth. They're two.
We
The
can do
two.
six. We can do six. I could do six.
Well, my 5 and 6 would be like the same people. So I'm gonna say who I'm going with, but I'll have an honorable mention to this guy. I'll shout him out as well. My 5 is gonna be Guy Fieri.
Guy
I
Fieri,
just
like the cook, like the chef, or like the show guy.
yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's a fire one.
Yeah, I want to go Guy Fieri. My other guy I was thinking of was Gordon Ramsay,
Okay, same vibes.
someone that's been at the pinnacle of the chef world and just so held in such a high regard in cooking, but still is like when you watch his shows when he works with kids and adults, like he's been in and out of like everything chef related. But the reason why I'm leaning more towards Guy Fieri is he lives such a laid back lifestyle. Like you never see TMZ reports of like Guy Fieri. You just but like at a sporting event, they'll just be like, "Oh my God, there's Guy Fieri," and they're like, "Oh my God!" Like it's like no one knows what
What's awesome too is I talked to Gunther about this. It's awesome because like Gordon Ramsay got to where he's at because he's like the best chef in the entire world. Guy Fieri was a guy that like eating food and was like, that shit's good. And people were like, he says it's good, it's good. And then it blew up. And then it blew up.
Yeah, this man just invented Flavor Town, and people were like, "Oh my God, oh my God!" Like this is the spokesperson for
But
eating.
the thing is a lot of chefs and restaurant appreciate what he did because he brought a life to like the fame and keeping alive like good cooking and stuff. Like he really did. Like yeah, he's not credentialed, but like they respect him because he kept that like alive and he made the food industry become popular enough that people could do it for a living.
Yeah, and I just have such a respect for him, and like outside of cooking, I feel like this man has done everything.
Oh, I bet he's so fucking cool, dude. I bet he's so cool.
Yeah, and like he would definitely be down and just like sit down and talk about anything other than food. But then when you did talk about food, he'd be like, "Oh, dude, I got the best spot, like everywhere." Like he knows where food is everywhere in the world. Like that's just who he is. So I'm gonna take Guy Fieri for my fifth spot, but honorable mention to Gordon Ramsay just because he's like the GOAT.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's gonna wrap us up. Random Sports Pod number 5, I believe. I think episode 96 or 97. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, we will finally be back to talking football. How nice is that? But
Anywho, our next pod, we're probably going to go over. We're going to shout out our fantasy league. I'm still setting that up, so it will be done by this week. But we do have a post out about it. If you want to see our members, go check out that Instagram post. We have a little fun facts about everyone included. Remember, this league is not about winning money. It's about who can we punish in the worst way possible. This is the punishment league of Clocks on the Stove. With that being said, episode 96, Random Sports 4 or 5. I don't even remember anymore, but we are in the championship rounds. Good evening.